I want to welcome you all here to our Minority Concerns program, which is entitled The Life and Impact of John S. Rock. And I want to thank you very, very much for joining us here for this important program. Can you imagine a better place to have an event such as this in this gorgeous, restored, historic courthouse facility? It is, as many of you know, the oldest continuing use courtroom in the state of New Jersey and the second oldest in the United States.
About 150 people gathered at the Old Salem Courthouse to learn about John Stuart Rock, a native son of Salem County. Rock was born to free parents in Elsonborough Township in 1825. He went on to become an educator, dentist, physician, and ultimately a lawyer. As a doctor in Boston, he treated sick fugitive slaves and was one of the leading black abolitionists in New England. He was a prolific orator and is credited with coining the phrase, "Black is beautiful."
The first question that's always asked of me is, how did I find out about John Rock? And real quick, how many of you knew of John Rock before today? That's not good.
Dr. J. Harlan Busby is an area historian.
It was on February 1st, 1865, however, that Rock received the highest recognition of his career. On that day, following a motion by Senator Sumner, Rock became the first black man in history to be admitted to practice law before the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. This was the highlight of his legal career and an unprecedented event, sending chronicle reverberations throughout the national and international presses. The next day in Washington, the House of Representatives received him, and Rock was the first black lawyer to be introduced at a session of Congress. It would be the last triumphant act of his life, overflowing with achievement.
Dr. Christopher Brooks, an associate professor of history at East Stroudsburg University, explored Rock's legal career. He recounted how Rock and U.S. Senator Charles Sumner, also an abolitionist, exchanged 12 letters leading up to Rock's admittance to argue before the United States Supreme Court. Sumner expressed in those letters it was difficult in light of the 1857 Dred Scott decision that affirmed slave owners' rights to take slaves to the new Western territories. Chief Justice Roger Taney wrote the majority opinion.
Taney, being an impediment to Rock's admittance to the U.S. Supreme Court bar at the time, certainly frustrated Rock. According to Benjamin Quarles, the author, Rock wrote of Justice Taney to a friend that, I quote, "the old man lives out of spite," end quote, and would logically never allow a man of African heritage to argue before the High Court. Death is never something one should celebrate, at least that's my opinion. But the death of Justice Taney of Maryland in October 1864 opened the door to Rock being admitted. Making this admittance more likely was Taney's successor, Salmon Portland Chase of New Hampshire. Chase wasn't a champion of the abolitionist cause, thus Rock's desire to be admitted, well, the barrier had more or less been lifted.
Rock died of tuberculosis at age 41 without ever trying a case.